What is the worst thing you've overheard while pretending to be asleep? When I was a kid, I used to be scared of monsters or something creeping up on me in my sleep, so I would always ask my dad to check on me before he went to bed. It made me feel more comfortable. One night, I was still awake when I heard him coming up the stairs, and I wasn't supposed to be awake and knew I would get in trouble if he saw me, so I pretended to be asleep. He came into my room and just kinda stared at me for a few seconds, then came up close to my bed, lifted the blanket up, farted under it, turned around and left. It's been at least 15 years and I remember that night vividly. He vehemently denies it to this day, but I know what happened. I pretended to sleep through the doctor sitting at my kitchen table telling my dad he had stage 3 cancer. I was 9. He's totally fine now, but it really sucked at the time. Freshman college roommate watching porn on his laptop wearing headphones, humping his mattress like there's no tomorrow. Late in the comments here, but I heard the news my dad passed away pretending to sleep. And X200B. I was 12 at the time, woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, headed to the kitchen to get some water after, and saw my sister sitting on the couch. She asked if I could sleep out in the living room with her, and I didn't think anything of it. Woke up the next morning and kept my eyes closed. I heard my mom telling my dad's best friend we lost him. I won't forget it. My father telling my mother that sometimes he just wanted to kill me. I was 5 years old when I overheard this. Being that my dad was an alcoholic and full of rage, I believed him and lived my entire childhood believing he was going to kill me. Sleeping over at a friend's house when I was 14. All of us on the floor in living room. Couldn't sleep. 2 of my friends, guy and girl, directly next to me start doing freaky things to each other. I was extremely shy and a couple of years younger than them, so I stayed quiet and hoped they'd stop. Had to listen to them for an hour while she made weird ass moaning squeaky noises and he was singing in a weird slightly whispery singy voice Matchbox 20 songs to her while he did whatever he was doing. That was last time I slept over at a friend's house. That I was dying with meningitis, but jokes on the doctors, I'm still kicking. My grandparents won $10,000 at the casino, and they told all of their children, and presumably gave them some of that money, except my dad. My dad is a dick, so I didn't tell him either. My friends talking about going into my wallet later and steal my money, and then leave before I notice. I kicked them out. No wonder people at school think he's gay. My stepmom. Probably the funniest was on a camping trip with the boys. I have sleep apnea and use a CPAP machine. I overheard a couple of my mates talking about smoking a joint and hotboxing me through the air intake of my CPAP machine. My older brother in the next room when he snuck a girl in. They had sex for about a minute and then I could hear him apologizing for about 20. May not be the worst ever, but it's definitely the funniest. My mum's boyfriend sloppily trying to fuck my mum all drunk as shit whilst we are all sharing the same fucking hotel room. I was 13. Probably my dad's dementia screaming. Usually nothing is wrong, but he'll wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning to yell at God and grind his teeth. You never did get used to it. Not me, but my wife heard her boyfriend having sex with her best friend. This was obviously long before we met. I was at my BF's apartment staying over. His roommate also happened to have some friends who were dating there as well. I was in my BF's room and they were sleeping in the living room. They were definitely fucking. Weirdest thing of it all were these literal banging sounds, like someone was hitting the fucking wall. The whole time I had to piss like a motherfucker, but getting to the bathroom involved walking by the living room and I did not wanna risk it. When we woke up the next morning someone had ripped a chunk out of one of the curtains and the TV remote was snapped in half. To this day I don't wanna know what the fuck was going on in there. My mom and I were sharing a hotel room on a trip and unfortunately only had one bed, so we had to share that too. As I was trying to fall asleep, I kept hearing the text tone from my mom's phone going off and her giggling. My parents hate each other, so I knew it wasn't my dad she was texting with. Curious, I opened my eyes just a little bit to see that she was flirting with other men while on a trip with her family, and I was in fact staring at a dick pic. I couldn't really go back to sleep after that. My mom and aunt talking, thinking 10-year-old me was asleep. Aunt, little runs _n_ ghosts is so cute. Mom, no, he's not very good looking at all. My mom having an affair with her fiance's best friend, who was married, in the same room that I was sleeping in. I was like 10 years old. Edit, spelling. When I was a wee tot, I pretended to be asleep in the family room, so I wouldn't have to actually go to bed, and once my parents were distracted, I could keep watching TV. I then got to hear my dad proposition my mom for couch sex. It's been many years, so I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of hop on pop. I was a camp counselor. Two girls very much like to make hot or not lists. One of them suggested a male counselor was hot, and the other said he was saying mean things about me behind my back, which made him not hot. Hurt to hear that from my campers, but glad they supported me. My sister's soon-to-be fiancé wanking while saying her name. My then stepmom's nephews talking about what they would do to me sexually if given the chance. I was 14, they were 17, 19, and 21. Thankfully the window to the motorhome was slightly open, and my dad heard the entire thing. I was scared of boys for a long time after that. Edit, ***, thank you everyone for your comments of support. A lot of people are asking what happened after. This all happened while we were camping on the Oregon coast. My dad ripped them a new one, and that was the end of it. About a year later, the youngest one tried to grope me when I was trying to sleep, but I was able to cover myself, and he gave up. The next day I told him I knew what he tried to do, and I would tell my dad if he didn't stop. He acted like he didn't know what I was talking about, but he never tried again. A year or so after that, they got divorced, and I never had to see her or her crazy family again. I'm so sorry for those of you who have similar stories. It's been almost 30 years since this incident, and I feel like I have a very healthy view of relationships now. I hope you all are happy and healthy too. 3. Thank you for the awards as well. These are the first 2 I've ever received, and goes to show how awesome most people are. 3. My family was staying at a friend's house and had to share a room. My dad comes to bed hammered and says to my mum something along the lines of, "Does it impress you that I'm this drunk and can still perform?" I actually wanted to die. My roommate and her FWB having loud, dirty talk sex. I'd just had my wisdom teeth out, and I think they assumed I was passed out on pain meds. The person in the bunk under me beating his dick like it owed him money. My mom trying to calm my dad down out of a suicidal fit. My brother and I had been really bad that day, and when he grounded us, we both told him that we hated him and wanted him to go away. He didn't do anything wrong. My brother and I were just a couple of immature little cunts. I'm pretty sure blackout drunk at this point, which I had never seen and still haven't saw since then, walked into our room that night and I pretended to fall asleep. Then he just started these deep, haunting sobs that I'll probably never forget. He stumbled outside, and we could hear him begging my mom to let him die, and sobbing. All I've ever wanted in my entire life was to be a better dad than mine. I was only 11 or so, but it fucking destroyed my heart. I think that's the time I learned that emotional pain can actually physically hurt. I was hunched over in my bed bawling my eyes out, and on the verge of throwing up. I also felt like an asshole for crying over what we said. My brother was thankfully able to sleep through it all. I think about that once every 2 weeks or so, and I always message him to tell him I love him when I do. I hoped he forgot about it, but being a dad myself now, I don't think it's something you totally forget. It might not hurt like it did in the moment, but I don't think you forget. Like most heartbreaking things, I guess. My mom on a payphone, begging her boyfriend for more heroin. Edit. My mom was driving around town late at night, probably trying to score, and I was sleeping in the passenger seat. She stopped at a parking lot. I woke up and pretended to be asleep. This was back when payphones were in convenience store parking lots everywhere, mid-90s. Edit 2. Last I heard, my mom is clean and doing well enough. I haven't talked to her in almost 20 years. It's healthier for me that way. Roommate's boyfriend and his friend came into my room when they thought I was asleep. It was warm, and I was sleeping naked with minimal blanket coverage. I froze and pretended to sleep. They proceeded to talk about my body and how it was anyone's type. Also how easily it was to drug ladies these days. Oh, and also the friend talked about how easy it would be to steal/sell my boyfriend's boat motor that he had stored in the room. Yeah, so they were kicked out, and friend became an ex-friend because she was pissed I'd let my boyfriend kick them out. When I was a kid, I was pretending to sleep in the car. I was in the backseat, next to my older sister. I was probably 6 or 7, so she would have been around 13. She let out a raunchy, all windows down, gag the rest of the car sort of fart. It was loud, but we were both in the back. She immediately blames it on me farting in my sleep. The whole car laughs and rolls down their windows, and I stayed asleep. No one to this day knows that it was her, and she still thinks she got away with it. I got you, C's.